Did you know that the average CEO reads about 60 books a year? That's a lot of reading, especially considering CEOs have crazy work weeks, have a lot of responsibility, and it just shows the value that reading is important. I mean, it might seem like reading is kind of dying with social media and video and podcasting, but really reading, even if it's on a Kindle, it's very important. And today I'm going to share with you 5 books that I've personally read, actually some more than once, and they're very helpful. I mean, some are in business, just self-help, relationship sales. And yeah, I'm just going to start off with the first one. So this is Rich Dad Poor Dad by Robert Kiyosaki. And I thought it was a really interesting book because it kind of talked about Robert's Rich Dad versus Poor Dad. It kind of challenged traditional knowledge of you have to have like an advanced degree to do well financially, but it kind of talked about gaining assets like in the stock market and especially real estate. Robert Kiyosaki, he's really into real estate investing. And one thing I thought was really cool about this book is he talked about the income quadrant, the ESBI. So you have employee, self-employed, business owner, and then investor. And it basically talks about moving from the left side of the quadrant, the E, S, to the B and the I. So the B and the I, it basically kind of helps you build assets and have kind of more of a automated system where your money is working for you. So just a common example of having money work for you is just investing money in an index fund, like a Vanguard fund or anything like that. And so over time, if you keep doing that, it'll compound and grow. That's just a very easy example. Another example is rental property, where you invest money into a rental property and you get rental income, and you don't have to trade your hours for that money. So I really think this is a great book, especially for personal finance. I know he has kind of mixed reviews, but as long as you kind of see the positives of the book, like the income quadrant, I thought it was great. Next book I have is kind of an old book, but it's more for like relationships and making friends and things of that nature. In fact, it's called How to Win Friends and Influence People by Dale Carnegie. Now, Dale Carnegie, he was a sales trainer and a public speaker. He talked about just how to build relationships, just little things like remembering someone's name, kind of building rapport with them, having good conversations, developing common ground. And now I actually read this book when I was really young, when I was about 10 years old, when I was in I think the 4th grade. My dad gave it to me because he read it way back in the day. I did want to mention this book was written, I think in the 40s. I mean, it was a long time ago, and you can kind of tell by the writing. But no, basically, it kind of talks about how to build relationships and rapport. And when I was 10, I was a little bit on the shyer side, and it was kind of tough for me. But this book kind of helped me make some new friends, and it was great. And it can be used by anyone, regardless of background or age. So it's very helpful. I mean, I think the kind of lessons that were taught in this book will always be around for decades. So that is my second book that I recommend. The third book, it's a little different. I mean, it gets kind of mixed reviews. It's either awesome or not that great, depending on who you talk to. I say you have to take it with a grain of salt, and I've learned some really cool lessons from it. This is The 4-Hour Workweek by Tim Ferriss. Now, basically the point of the book, it's not really working 4 hours a week. The thing is, Tim Ferriss, he hustles, he grinds, he works at least 60 hours a week. I mean, he has a podcast and a blog, he's written tons of books, he's an angel investor, like he's a very, very established person, like big name. And no, he doesn't work 4 hours a week. I mean, he has all these systems, but he doesn't work 4 hours a week. I can guarantee you. Instead, the point behind the book is making the most out of your life and something called geo-arbitrage. So basically, geo-arbitrage, all that means is basically you use the power of the internet to earn a stronger currency like the US dollar. You go to somewhere where the cost of living is cheap, like Thailand or Colombia, so mainly Latin America, Southeast Asia, and you have a high quality of life for less. I mean, it's pretty crazy though. You can actually live well in some of these countries for like $1,200, $1,500, much less than, say, California, where that's just your rent payment. It's pretty crazy. I'll actually put a link to that in the description below, just kind of countries where you can live well on little. But that's what Tim Ferriss talks about, is geo-arbitrage. He also mentions using outsourcing and automation, basically being more efficient, because he's recognized that a lot of modern practices in the workplace, they cause redundancy and they add additional time, and it just causes unnecessary stress and inefficiency for everybody. And this is one thing that he really goes over. Another thing he talks about is something called Pareto's Law, which is the 80-20 principle, meaning that 80% of your results are due to 20% of your efforts. So basically using Pareto's Law to cut back on kind of the fat, just to make sure that your day is efficient and you're using your time wisely. So that is why I like the 4-Hour Work Week. And then my next book, it's kind of an interesting book as well. It's called The Subtle Art by Mark Manson. Now, Mark Manson, he's a newer author. He actually wrote a book called Models, which is about like dating advice and attracting women through honesty. I've read that book too, and I think that's great as well. He actually has another book coming out called Everything Is, I mean, you can kind of see by the cover, it's kind of the same concept. I mean, I want to keep this kind of PC, but he has some great points in this book. I mean, he kind of talks about philosophy, and a lot of it's like self-help and just how to just really go about your life. One thing I really liked about his book is he talked about the famous psychologist William James. Now, he mentioned how William James had kind of a rough childhood and like he kind of bounced around. He didn't really do much prior to being 30. And then he realized, hey, you know what? Life is all about like my choices and my decisions. I'm going to take ownership for this. Yeah, he had some problems with illness and things of that nature, but he decided to like own his life and do that decision. He became the father of modern psychology. That chapter really stuck out to me. And so just basically those kind of things were really important. And then the whole realizing that nothing in life, like, I mean, life is always a series of problems, and it's all about how you react to them and which problems that you choose to take. So, I mean, this book was really good. I think Mark Manson, I mean, he does have a little profanity, as you can see by the cover, but I think he's a very talented author, and he has a really good blog. I'm actually going to put in the description below as well, but it's called markmanson.net. He has some really good articles that just really make you think. The thing is with Mark Manson, don't read these books if you get offended easily or if you don't like profanity, because, I mean, they will offend you. So that's just one kind of bit of caution with this author. But overall, I mean, he's pretty dang good. So the last book, it kind of refers to selling. So not just like being sleazy and shoving product down a customer's throat, but really being a consultant and like asking them the right questions and just kind of fulfilling their needs, which I think that is sales. And if you think about sales as life, so if you're trying to get a job, going on a date, trying to say, hey, you know what, let's grab tacos instead of Chinese food tonight, you're selling. And I mean, selling is not a bad thing. People think it's a dirty word, but it's really not. So the last book is called Spin Selling by Neil Rackham. And it's a really good book for learning about sales, and it kind of goes into detail about like being more consultative, like asking the right questions, just making sure that your product kind of solves the prospect's needs. And no, it's really good in that regard. It kind of goes into asking like open-ended questions, acting with urgency, but not just being scummy. And he kind of mentions that life is sales. Like, if you think of, like I just mentioned it before, like, I mean, no matter what you do, you are selling to an extent, and that's kind of covered in the book. And no, I mean, it just kind of breaks down the sales process, has good structure, and it's just another piece of literature that I really recommend. Well, anyway, guys, those are some of the 5 books that have really helped me. So one was personal finance, some were self-help, one was about sales, the other was building relationships. I really hope you guys enjoyed this list, and please tell me, which books have you personally read and benefited from, and have these books helped you out in any way? I would love to hear in the comments below. I personally answer each one. And if you like this video, please click on the like button, smash that subscribe button as well, and even turn on the bell so you know when I create my next video. And thanks again for watching. Until next time.